Struggling daily for 5 years because of one hasty comment. How far have you gone due to regret? I used to struggle with OCD, and one way I tried to combat it was by making promises to a higher power, hoping that the fear of breaking these promises would keep my OCD at bay. It was a coping mechanism, exchanging one fear for another. I would tell myself that I couldn't give in to my OCD compulsions because I had made a promise to a higher power. One day, I realized that these promises didn't hold much meaning unless I genuinely meant them. So, I decided that a genuine promise had to involve understanding its significance and physically validating it by making the sign of the cross 3 times. But one night, as I left my house to perform a cleaning compulsion, my OCD stopped me a few meters away. It insisted that I go back home to get more paper tissues because the ones I had with me got wet. I didn't want to go back home, and I resisted the urge. My OCD persisted, and I became overwhelmed with worry and exhaustion. I attempted to make another promise, hoping it would make my OCD relent, but this time, it didn't work because I had already explained to myself that these promises were not real. Desperate to make it stop, I hastily attempted to make a genuine promise without really meaning it. I vaguely gestured towards my house and made a deal, asking to be cursed with my fears if I were to go back home for paper tissues. However, during this process, I vividly visualized key elements of the promise: the pathway back home, my previous apartment, and some random paper tissues in my kitchen. Feeling uncertain, I tried to validate this promise by making the sign of the cross, but I ended up stopping at about 2.5 times instead of the intended 3, ultimately canceling the promise. I explained to myself that I didn't truly mean this promise. It was merely a facade to appease my OCD. It's been 5 years since then, and I have moved to a different house in a different location. Despite the time that has passed, I still find myself worrying. I have several concerns. 1. What if the higher power accepted the promise? 2. What if my words were general enough to accidentally extend the promise to any situation involving returning home for paper tissues, regardless of the circumstances? 3. Even if I visualize specific details like my old house and the path to it, how do I know if the higher power perceived those thoughts? 4. What if the higher power simply doesn't care about my OCD or didn't pay attention to the visuals and context of the promise I made? Every day, these worries consume me. What if I accidentally break the promise? What if someone asks me for paper tissues from my house? I'm constantly plagued by these thoughts.